Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Pinball Arcade. So last time we looked at Star Trek for a little bit, but since it's not a game I'm willing to purchase, the trial only gives you about a 10 or 20 minute worth of gameplay, not enough to play a full game, and not enough to, and it doesn't let you keep any of your progress. So instead we decided to try one of the challenges and see how that worked, and that worked, I guess, alright, but it is also kind of weird how the challenges are lined up in such a way that specific tables you just won't even be able to play unless you can beat the tables before them, which means you're practicing some of the easier tables at the front and some of the harder tables uh, you'll never really get to practice. So it is obviously possible to come just play the tables separately and practice that way, but you would have to basically have that list of whatever specific challenge you're doing, practice the table that you know you're particularly bad at, and then come back and try the challenge. I actually found out that Creature from the Black Lagoon had a whole mode, a whole like video mode that I didn't even realize existed, and I suspect that's probably the case for a lot of these tables in general. And see, this starts at 2000 for this table, and today we're doing High Roller Casino, which is 2001. And notice that both of these are the new Stern, as it were, which, yeah, I don't know if the new Stern is particularly even as good as the old Stern, as they shifted to selling pinballs to collectors and shifted to potentially selling pinballs that were incomplete. Whereas, arguably, maybe even the old Stern in 1999 and 98 were selling some incomplete PCs and or ROM versions, and then they were shipping out chips to upgrade later on. I wouldn't be surprised though if it hasn't gotten a lot worse as far
Don't
as
lose your move.
incompleteness. Like once any game creator, whether it was a video game or pinball or I imagine even slot machines, once all of those became connected to networks of some sort, whether it's the internet or something else, um, the pressure to get the code right and 100% completed dropped significantly, and people now find it fairly acceptable to sell a product that doesn't have its code complete, um, and then promise to patch it later. Of course, the problem with the promise is that promises can be broken, and if a table sells less than 1,000 units, they probably aren't going to ever bother to put any more work into it and finish it. Um, there is a famous saying: no artwork is ever finished, only abandoned. And I think for some of these pinball tables in particular, there probably are abandoned concepts that they just kind of hide. The main concern, though, would be that every single switch on the table and would activate and do something, and every single light would indicate something. So I suppose if they get that far, you can call it complete enough. However, like the third Elvira table, when it was first shipped out, had an entire standing switch that did not do anything. And you would think, at the very least, you'd have it programmed to give some kind of amount of points. And you could suspect that any standing switch or any switch of any kind, any shot of any kind, that just gives you points, probably at some point was thought to be something that would be used in a mode or progress a mode, um, more than just giving a point. Uh, with perhaps the exception of like outlane special drains. Those switches pretty much are just there for outlane rewards unless you have a kickback. I'm a little surprised that a lot of tables don't just get modified to have kickbacks. It would be so easy to have an aftermarket kit that would turn any outlane, left or right, into one with a kickback. Uh, it wouldn't particularly have any programming to it, though, so you would have to just have like a randomizer chip, I suppose, decide whether or not the kickback activates or not, and then have it trigger on the outlane switches. But that would still probably improve a lot of tables without having to change any of the core programming. You could also have a relay wired to any target on a table and have it um, be the thing that triggers whether kickback should activate. But then the table and the rules and the callouts wouldn't tell you about it. Anyways, we're playing High Roller Casino, which we've seen several casino themed games, and I would say Jackpot is about the best one we've seen so far. High Roller Casino 2001 puts players in the role of a high stakes gambler with money to burn, conceptualized by John Norris. What does that mean? You thought of the idea? But then it was designed by Kenneth P. Johnson. I don't know either one of these names. This must be the new generation at Stern. This awesome game from Stern allows players to experience all the glamour of a real Las Vegas casino, featuring gorgeous graphics and spectacular audio effects. This table has a deep rule set with 4 different 4-ball multiball modes, which we've seen tables really get crazy with the number of multiball modes, and 6 of the most popular casino games played in the real casinos. These games include Blackjack, poker, high-low, craps. The playfield even includes a functioning roulette wheel and a slot machine. Be a winner with a High Roller Casino. Approximately 1,200 units of this table were produced. So not really high numbers as far as design. And I don't know if that really has to do with the fact that it is not a license, or if it has to do with the fact that it's just a concept that's been done several times before, and this version may not be any better. It seems like you spell high. No, you spell H-I then low with that. And so with the rollovers, lane selects, dollar symbols on the flippers. What you take from this particularly is, once again, Stern and pinball in general is no longer concerned about pinball being accused of being gambling. Like, this is 100% focused around promoting gambling and promoting the feeling of gambling, although arguably they have not gone to the point where it actually gives you money back. It just gives you maybe credits. Seems like there's a break the bank poker chips end of game multiplier. And then seems to be a standing target there, hidden by that light. And then a slot machine with a dot matrix display, and then standing targets on either side, which I think those are blinking high, HI. I'm not sure. Maybe it's hit, HIT. There's a looper back here. Seems like this ramps up to this and then has a diverter to go here above the switch, or here through the clear plastic above the switch. It's always weird when you see them like swap to metal, but in this design it makes a lot more sense than a lot of other designs, because the metal does differentiate a different path. There's a ramp up here that also seems to go the same way. Interesting to have 2 ramps just end up in the same place. A almost perfect triangle of bumpers with a top lane and a ramp back here that I think leads to it. And so this is how you would have bet black, bet red, and bet green. And this is how you would do it. So you would have a roulette table that you could actually work with some kind of optical sensor or relay system. Is simply have a much smaller number of black and red things that the roulette table can land on, and seemingly you're going to have a diverter switch here that switches this ramp. Oh, I just realized that. And land the ball in the roulette table. We've seen plastic toys of roulette tables before, and then it would have just been done digitally. But to actually show it is interesting. What's also interesting is this is smaller than the Gopher roulette table in Teed Off, which was under the playfield and kind of too large for no good reason. You have 4 poker standing targets, and then Slingshot there. And is there anything for a skilled shot? No, it looks like the skilled shot ends up in the roulette table here. And then you have just like a dice there, and the dice there, a toy that doesn't seem like they do anything. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of things happening on the screen. And see, this is still a Stern matrix display, so they like this is version 3.0 apparently. And I guess at this point it is connecting to an internet for a message of the day type service that would let them update whether a new version of the software is available or not. Although, arguably, it kind of makes no sense to tell an individual player that, as much as it is to just relay that information to the owner of the table. And with this dot matrix display, you see an orange finger pressing the start button. One thing that I saw that was very interesting in the new Elvira table is they had an LCD display. And in the attract mode like this, it would show a hand putting a coin in, pushing the start button, pushing the flippers, basically showing the default things you need to do to play pinball. I guess if you had never played or seen pinball before in your life. But what was really interesting about it is that they didn't hire just one hand model to do it. They literally have 3 different videos, one of a African American male hand, one of a Caucasian male hand, and one of a female adult hand, each doing the exact same motions, but it just seems like that's a little bit more inclusive. And as far as video, like, I'm sure there's plenty of space to have 3 like 10-second videos anyways, and it does vary up the videos, which could get very repetitive, particularly in an attract mode. So it's a nice effort, certainly. I did notice for the Elvira table, though, that there weren't any children like hand. I don't know if there are any children hand models that you could hire, but you could almost certainly get a child's hand in that same video. But then for Elvira's table, I'm not sure if Elvira's table was particularly targeted towards children. So I wouldn't be surprised if, say, the Avengers table or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle table or the Hot Wheels table have an attract mode in which you do see a kid's hand. And I would say they don't have to go crazy overboard with it. You don't have to have every single races, every single different tone of skin color, every single gender depicted. Just diversifying it a little bit away from what we see here, which is the cowboy rich guy surrounded by a big busted blonde and brunette. And here we have another showgirl. And for Las Vegas, I kind of would excuse the showgirl, but you're getting a little bit objectifying here, just surrounding the gambler with girls. And I bet none of these characters are voice acted at all. And that's really where it comes down in my mind as to the mess of representation. It's much better to hire some female voice actress to play a blonde, big-chested bimbo than to not hire her and have that actor go hungry or go without work. Here we can see that there's a reward table just done with LEDs, where in the past that would have been done with actual things. This back art is pretty poorly designed by modern standards. It just does not look like a high resolution image compared to the Star Trek table that we saw before. And then you have a king and queen on the side of the slingshots. So let's see what the flyer looks like, and then let's hop into the game. Yeah, it's really, really highlighting the gambling aspect and barely just showing the table on an angle. And then the other side is highlighting 3, maybe 4 elements. A lot of these flyers just stink terribly as far as just where they are. I will say that this flyer seems to be more targeted to actual arcade owners because they are back to having phone and fax numbers, even though they still are highlighting a website. Here you can see that it also has the address of where they are, Melrose Park, Illinois, or where they were, which that is the kind of context you would expect from a business relationship. Our standard goals are to earn an extra ball, win a cheat game, so I guess you get to cheat, probably not by mashing an extra button like in Jackpot, win craps, score double jackpot, and score a chip combo. Without knowing what any of that is, let's start. Alright. So, I can't imagine the skill shot has any real skill to it if it's a roulette table, because I would just imagine that it would be random. There we got a chip combo. So it seems.
You have the golden touch? You're a lucky son of a gun.
I don't feel like the audio is particularly great here. That's interesting that it just held the ball at the end of the ramp. But I just got like 29 million, 23 million for basically doing nothing. So super high scoring table. So you hit the pop-up bumpers, and that activates roulette again. Yeah, I don't feel like it's got the right voice acting, because you got this kind of high beat jazz music that is fine for now, but I think will get annoying very fast. I don't know what the gunshot was all about. And then you have the showgirl. And then you get one voice. The showgirl gets one line of dialogue. See, it feels like there should be a host character or a dealer or something making the calls and the shoutouts.
Point is 4.
It does just kind of seem very quiet, where nothing's happening. And you can see how this is a fairly empty table. Like the ball is just kind of bouncing around.
Whoa there, partner. Let's play some poker.
Alright. So the blackjack must be standing targets, hit on the left and maybe stand on the right, or I don't know where you stand. Wow, these definitely feel like weak flippers, and the ball just feels floaty. So you have a big empty table where you're not hitting a lot of things. You have a table where you score way too much. You have music that's going to get annoying fairly quickly. I should potentially go and see if there's maybe some other music playing hidden in the menu music. But the high-low lanes, instead of spelling high-low, seem to cycle between high and low. Do casinos really let you play just high-low? Or is there something more to the rules there? Because honestly, it would seem like you would go nowhere playing high-low. You could put $1 on high and $1 on low.
You beat 'em all.
And alright, so Blackjack, you have to shoot that ramp in the back.
Let's play some high-low.
There's a lot of flashing lights that it wants you to hit. Now I'm spelling high, low. See, and I need to figure out in those two games in less than 10 minutes, it feels like. I got on the highest scoreboard. What did I accomplish? The chip combo?
Luck be a lady tonight.
This casino feel, frankly, also is much closer to a 2001 feel of a Las Vegas casino than what I think, well, 2021 casinos are going to be when they reopen. Like, even before then, I think casinos often were trying to be a little bit more family friendly and hide the kind of sleazy showgirl aspects. They were definitely trying to be more appealing to rich Middle Eastern sheiks and such, and so they don't want to come off as like unsafe, dirty, or not appropriate.
Point is 10.
So we had bet on black, and that gave us 5 chips.
You have the golden touch. Don't fret none.
So I wonder if I'm supposed to flip the flippers. Like, I'm not sure what activates a cheat round. This is one of those games where the rules might change how you play quite a bit. I did see the rules for Creature of the Black Lagoon, for instance, and that's like 10 pages of game rules that would have come with the table for the owner, but those rules really wouldn't have been told to players. Yeah.
11.
Which really does highlight a element that would make great sense if there was a quarterly or monthly like magazine, like Nintendo Power like magazine for pinball machines. Particularly if you could get nice high resolution photography of old tables. You could highlight old tables for a very long time, and eventually you might run out of tables, but honestly, if you highlighted 2 or 3 tables and just focused on those, you could probably go for several years and make a good long-running collection of a magazine type.
All right, let's roll and win.
Use the flippers
Okay.
to decide.
I just got multiball. I didn't realize that's what I was going for. Everything is just flashing like crazy. We got like 4 balls on the multiball. See, there's like 2 balls up in the roulette wheel, which that definitely helps you maintain a jackpot.
Jackpot!
I think if I was gonna get like a quadruple jackpot though, I think you would have to get 4 or 5 shots towards the jackpot almost back to back.
Bye, good looking.
Even your main male character that you're playing as, the Screaming Jackpot, which I assume that's a male character and not just a dealer, is not saying enough. Right, how do we win a cheat game? The cheat game feature makes it a lot easier to win casino games. A cheat game is collected once you complete 5 ramp shots, so we just need to get really good at the center shots. Several ways to get an extra ball. Extra ball can be lit from the upper right target by winning 3 casino games, or by collecting light extra ball, or by completing 10 center shots. Okay. One of them is craps. To play craps, first shoot the roll dice target. I guess you're just hitting that target a lot too. Okay, and we were going to come into the options here and see if this music
Luck be a lady tonight.
changes anything as we hear it. I think a lot of times the mini music is just the background music played over and over again. I don't know how you really improve a table like this. Do you have one table that is just focused on roulette? I don't think you have enough of an idea there for a game if you did that. Do you try to tell more of a story, a fear and loathing in Las Vegas type? Maybe that's the wrong story to tell. Maybe something closer to the National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation storytelling might be an interesting idea, where you're winning money, losing money, winning big, winning cars, winning free hotel stays, going on Vegas shows.
All right, let's roll and win.
Use the flippers to decide.
I'll take them any way I can get them, just like my women. Let's play some high-low. Let her
Which,
rip.
I don't know if that's an inappropriate joke, really. Yeah. Getting comped free drinks.
That's why they
And
call gambling.
going to shows and seeing different performances. You would have like seeing a magician, seeing a Cirque du Soleil type show, seeing a comedian. Those are all kinds of shows you might have at Vegas. Special events. There's pretty much something of everything to do in Vegas. Well, so you could, and then they are high class hotels, so then there's a lot of room for having a spa, a pool, things like that.
What's for mama?
1, 2. Doesn't really give you enough time to select whether that's not going to work or not.
Let's play some blackjack. Skill and luck, a winning combination.
Yeah, the angles on this are just weird. Lock is lit. Let's get back to a multi-ball. Yeah, and it does just seem like you want more chips more than anything else. I guess, oh, this game does have a center peg. I didn't even see it there. It doesn't seem to have a kickback or much of a ball saver. I guess what you would do is emphasize a specific casino, and clearly they didn't get anybody to license that. And inherently this is the problem, is that any casino that buys thousands and thousands of slot machines and other kinds of gambling machines is not really going to have much of a curation of arcade or pinball machines. They actually do have arcades, but they are usually very small and hidden.
I'll take them anywhere I can get them.
So it's not like a focus of their design. It's for them to send kids away to do something while their parents gamble. Which, yeah, casinos in Vegas are not particularly family friendly as much as they try to be. It's just so wimpy. I'd really like the power just turned up on the flippers. I think that would help a lot too. But at a certain point, if the tilt feels wrong, turning up the power on the flippers only helps half as much. The game can still feel very floaty and end up moving fairly fast when you do hit the ball. Where I prefer to just have gravity affect it. And I don't see a way you could adjust this table to be more high. Interesting.
Dealer has 2 pairs.
Yeah, I don't see a way you could reskin this and make this a particularly kid-friendly table. So you probably would just want to go more adult in it. There, I just want it craps basically doing nothing.
Let's play some poker. Get that dog into the crowd. Cards are more fun.
Yeah. So I would make the showgirl show up more. I'd make the gambler more of an interesting person. Have him have a lot of slogans and sayings, if not just have him go on an actual monologue as a character.
Luck be a lady tonight.
Put a lot more lines of dialogue. And this would be difficult lines of dialogue to write, certainly, as a gambler. Sure, you can have them say, "Luck be a lady tonight," and that makes sense, but yeah, I don't know what else you have them say. You probably would want to introduce something kind of like Taxi, where it would make a lot more sense for you to be a blackjack dealer, playing blackjack against, say, Dracula, Santa Claus. Like, we'd have to go and look at the Stern lineup, but I think you could think of a couple of Stern characters, or at least characters that are generic and open source or public domain. Public domain would be the right word there. Yeah, and that way, if you were the dealer of a blackjack table and you shoot one shot, you would get a call out from Dracula, just like Taxi. And see, that kind of highlights the genius of Taxi as a table, is that you don't have, you have a boring character basically doing a pouring profession of taxi driving, and you've through creativity made it interesting anyways.
All right, let's roll and win.
Use the flippers to decide.
Free pool. That's free money. Don't get your shorts in a knot. This one's for Texas. I'm in the money.
That's
You have
6
the gold
chips.
touch? Don't fret none.
Interesting, it didn't show that third slot animation.
One for Mama. Thanks.
But you get like 1,000,000 regardless. And I'm not really sure what lands you in the slot machine
Let's play some
as
Blackjack.
compared to up the ramp. I guess it flips upward and hits something. When the ramp is up, and it goes up the ramp when the ramp is down.
Bye, good looking.
The announcements of these sounds are so bad too. It's just like I'm not even recognizing when something is happening.
Go nuts, partner.
Now I've changed the skin on the table. We played more of this dumb yellow and yellow skin than I would like to have ever played. I would have never wanted to play it even once. Like, we've seen that with all the other table pinball skins. They make no sense to my eye. I would think what you would want to do is get like a license. So David Copperfield, Penn and Teller, Pip the Magic Dragon, any of those magicians known for having Vegas shows that are long running would make a lot of sense. Even
That's a pretty picture.
Roy, even some of the people who aren't even doing performances. Celine Dion, I think, does a show fairly consistently. So get a lot of those personalities to allow their likenesses, or you cheat and then you just make fictionalized parodied versions of those characters, and recent laws have proven that would work very well, so you wouldn't have to pay the license on any of them. But yeah, I would definitely think if you're going for a Vegas casino concept, you need that big name and the big draw. The gambling itself is not a big draw. You can go to Oklahoma City, you can go to Reno, you can go to several, I think New Jersey,
Ours are more fun.
I think Louisiana has decent gambling. There's almost certainly a closer location and shorter, cheaper vacation if you want to just go gamble than to go to the middle of the Las Vegas desert and gamble. And
Get that
with
dog
there
in the trap.
being fewer and fewer conventions that need to actually be attended, and fewer convention gatherings anyways, there's even less reason to be in Vegas in the first place.
Extra ball.
There we got an extra ball.
Let's play some high-low.
So now we're just looking for the cheat game.
Ball lock.
And all the casinos have very crazy designs, which could at the very least be the back glass art of like a giant pyramid, giant water fountains, all kinds of things
All
like
right,
that.
let's roll and win.
Use the flippers to decide.
Roll again.
Roll again.
That's my favorite sound.
Bonus. See, that reward wheel totally doesn't feel like a spinning reward wheel either.
One for Mama. That's
Alright.
a pretty picture.
We just won a cheat game for 20 million and 15 chips. And so that was the last of the standard goals to do.
Ball one.
This table scores way too high.
Left. Just close your eyes and pick a number.
If I can just get up that ramp, can I backhand that shot though? Or do I have to hit it with the right flipper?
Blackjack. Spots might be more up your alley.
All those numbers are making me dizzy.
Well, there we heard a girl say one line of dialogue, and
Giddy up now.
it's not particularly a great representation. I'd almost prefer Safecracker and the Casino Heist idea more as a theme. Ocean's 11, Ocean's 13, things like that.
Jackpot! Double jackpot! Double jackpot! Triple jackpot!
It may be that we have to hit a bunch of jackpots at the same time. Yeah, if the next one is Super Duper Jackpot, I assume there is no triple jackpot. Yeah, I think the idea here would be to, if there was a theme to own the casino, that might make sense too. That way you could
Get that dog in the trap.
try to earn enough money to buy a small casino and then upgrade it. Kind of like a Luigi's Mansion ending, or where the amount of money you have ends the game as far as how big of a casino you have at the end of the gameplay. And then you could have like a King of Vegas wizard goal where you just own the town.
Extra ball. No comments on the peanut gallery.
At least at that point you have a narrative.
Double or nothing, sir.
Lower.
How far shall we go? Keep going.
Okay.
Congratulations, partner. Straight.
There I just won high-low. I'm getting I think I'm at the break the bank point, but I don't know what I'm supposed to be hitting to sink in that break the bank point. Hit me, it says. The slot machine.
All right, let's roll and win.
Use the flippers to decide.
3 free pools. That's free money. Don't fret none. This one's for W.
See, I just don't know what we're really doing here.
Dang. This one's for Mama.
Like, at this point, it feels like
Move your
I'm
boots.
very, very close to
Super pop.
getting the best. Alright, there I started break the bank,
Jackpot. Break the bank jackpot.
which I guess that's what we were shooting for, is that we needed to hit the ball somewhere to start it, and wherever I hit it to start the video mode was also the same place to start the other thing. We saw that with Monster Bash too, where like you would start two things at the same time and it led to a slight confusion. And see, all I'm trying to do is keep the balls in play. So the slot machine is what we're shooting, and then it's trying to kind of confuse me into thinking that the slot machine is the bank, which that is definitely weird. To have the bank feel like the slot machine, although it may be actually the ramp on the right or the left of the slot machine that is actually activating that jackpot.
Let's play some blackjack.
So you need, I imagine, over 100 chips. Then we'll just roll again. Which, I don't know what lights the next break the bank. Whether it's another 50 chips or another 100 chips or what. But we're at like 700 million on this table. But I am not enthusiastic by any means actually on this table. It's dull. The music is too repetitive. The voice acting and the call-outs is dull. The theme is dull. I'd much prefer to be playing Jackpot, because at least in Jackpot's case they have the voice acting of Jackpot and the girlfriend dealer watching you and calling it out whenever you cheat. Jackpot actually has your gamble scores, and it has that like final gameplay mechanic that's super hard, which makes it more interesting.
Bye, good looking.
Arguably, the bigger issue with pinball is it shouldn't try to have casino games. It should ignore the existence of them and try to do something different, or try to do like video games in a different way. If you were going to make a pinball table that was all about slot machines and you could totally control how the slot machines paid out, and maybe that would be interesting, but it would also probably take a lot of work. Now for the wizard goals, we need to score the break the bank jackpot, which we just did. Super surprise, I'm not sure how you do that. 4-way combo might be very difficult. Casino frenzy, super jackpot, I think we've done that. And super duper mega extreme jackpot, which how many hits does that require? During the 4 multiball mode, jackpot lights at each of the casino shots. Jackpot start at 2 million. Several targets on the player field increase the value. Blah 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 blah. First time a jackpot is scored for any of the shots, it relights the shots for a double jackpot worth twice the value. Second jackpot is scored if any of these shots. The second time a jackpot is scored for any of these shots, it relights the shot for a triple jackpot. And 3 times? After a triple jackpot is scored from a shot, it relights the lit for a normal jackpot until a super jackpot or better is scored. Scoring as many triple jackpots as possible is key strategy. Once a triple jackpot is scored from the slot machine, it lights super jackpot. For additional triple jackpot scored, it increases this value. If one triple jackpot is scored, shooting the slot machine scores a super jackpot worth 5 times it. If 2 triple jackpots were scored, shooting the slot machine scores a super duper jackpot worth 15 times. If all 3 triple jackpots were scored, shooting the slot machine scores a super duper mega jackpot worth 30 times. If all 4 triple jackpots were shot, shooting it is a super duper mega extreme jackpot worth 50 times. Once that has been scored, once super jackpot or better has been scored, all shots are set to normal. Okay. So that's crazy. Hit a slingshot. Hitting all 4 slingshots in any order without hitting any other switches on the playfield. Wow. That's pretty much never going to happen unless you cheat. Once all 6 casino games have been won, Casino Frenzy starts. We haven't gotten to that. Roll and win can give some great rewards. To activate it, shoot the center shot. Once that does it. So play it enough to win the surprise, which I guess is a question mark. The number of spaces is where it will move clockwise. Interesting. So you actually know how much that's going to reward if you pay attention.
Luck be a lady tonight.
So you want chips, so you want to land on green. And we want to do every single node to get Casino Frenzy.
That's why they call it gambling.
See, I'm not sure that this game really plays fair with the blackjack or not. I don't know if it's really random or if it is actually increasing your odds of winning or losing at jackpot at blackjack. That's kind of the problem with this in a nutshell, is if you were just going to focus on playing blackjack, you would just play blackjack. If you were just going to focus on playing poker, you'd play poker. You're not going to play a pinball machine to actually play poker. You may use that theme for a reference to a pinball table if the pinball table plays well and shoots well. I don't feel like Cue Ball Wizard as a billiards themed table is anywhere close to feeling like actually playing billiards. I don't feel like the previous billiards themes tables were anywhere close to actually playing billiards, but they were a set of instructions that you could immediately understand. You don't even really have that in this case, because the odds of people knowing how high-low works and roulette and blackjack and poker and craps is not as high as you would like it to be. And I'm really hating these outlanes. In a lot of ways, this table feels a lot like Whodunit in that there's really only 1 or 2 important shots to shoot, with the slot machine being the big one.
You have the golden touch. Don't lose your boot.
And I don't feel like the slot machine has a lot to offer.
High-low.
All those numbers are making me dizzy.
Yeah, I don't feel like the slot machine
Crap, bang. Pointy.
does enough
Let's play some blackjack.
as far as starting different modes. If this were like Theater of Magic and that were like the trunk, you would hit it and it would start a new mode every time after spinning the roulette slots, the slot machine dials. And there's so few dots on that dot matrix display to get it to fit. It probably doesn't even look particularly good when you do spin it. I've been just looking at the top LCD. And in 2001, a second LCD screen probably still would add $100 to the expense of this table. You may notice that they at no point did anybody suggest a full collection of dot matrix displays on pinball tables. Everybody just stuck with the standard one at the top, and with the exception of like Circus Voltaire that moved it downward. Okay, so
I'll take them any way I can get them.
3 gives you to the 10 chips.
You want the
Yeah.
pictures to match, right?
They just barely squeeze enough pixels in that dot matrix display in the slot machine to be able to depict
Let's play some high-low.
the
Let's
bars
play some blackjack.
and the
Let's head over to
coins
the poker table.
and the 7, which also there's actually fewer things in that slot machine than a normal slot machine would have. Honestly, if you're going to make a table like this, you might as well just take it the next step and say, alright, let's just get this pinball table certified to be a gambling device and put it in casinos and have it actually hook up to a progressive experience. And just have it like actually be bought in the thousands of units by casinos. I doubt casinos would actually fall for that and buy them, because you have this weird thing where if you want to be an active gambler, you're going to play blackjack or poker, and if you don't know how to really gamble and you just want to waste time and waste some money and have some fun, you're going to play something stupid easy like slot machines. And so I don't feel like you would have any familiarity or interest from your average gambler to take up the square footage and play a pinball machine. Like, even I would be very hesitant to potentially well, light extra ball, or see what that one says. Roll again. 6 would be half, or multi-ball. Let's go with multi-ball. No. It actually tells you what is gonna happen anyway, so. I may have activated the light lock lit for no reason, unless that was a multi-ball extend that gives you
a winning combination.
like another ball when it drains out. Okay. So the trick here is we are looking to hit each of the jackpots before hitting the slot machine. So we need the center lane shot. We need the left loop shot. And we need the right loop shot. And we needed to have not drained out the ball.
The chips are piling up.
can't imagine a way to get the balls to hit the slingshots. It just seems like that would never happen. Like that feels like all you can do is just nudge the ball into a slingshot and then nudge a ball away from a slingshot.
Hi, good looking.
You may notice that my play does not really involve letting the ball hit slingshots much at all. You actually kind of never want it to do that. Slingshots are random and not desirable. So, like, just there, the ball ended up somewhere where I wasn't expecting it to be, or where I wouldn't know where it was going. This table does seem to have kind of a curve in it, where the ball doesn't drain out the center as much as you thought it might. I think I just hit a 3-way combo there on the slingshots. But I really don't even know how you would adjust your shots to hit those slingshots. This table desperately needs a ball saver feature though. Center peg does not cut it. I did see a Beatles table that was made by Stern, and it looks really old as far as its table layout and design. And if I'm understanding it correctly, that is because they literally took an old table design that was a generic IP, something just like called Mermaid, I think was the name of the table, but I could be wrong. And then they put the Beatles license and theming on top of it, and that, I suppose, is a easy way to make a table and not spend a lot of money, since you had spent obviously a lot of money to get the Beatles license, but it didn't really satisfy pinball players from what I was hearing on the reviews, because it felt like a generic table, and it felt like a very old mechanical table layout with barely 4 shots and 3 center very large pop-up bumpers and maybe 7 stand-up targets in total on the table. Maybe 1 sinkhole.
Let's play some blackjack.
I can only accommodate so much
Let's head over to the poker table.
for the table's weird, weak flippers. Yeah. This table also feels somewhat familiar in its layout, but I don't know if that means I've seen something slightly similar to it or exactly the same. Like, that is one thing where Pinball Arcade in particular could have benefited from, is they could have reskinned a lot of existing tables to different themes if such reskins already existed, and that would just be redoing the art without having to redo any of the physics. But yeah, I think this has to be our last game, because I just find this incredibly boring. It's not a theme for me. In all fairness, the only poker games I've played on my channel as far as covering video games were Poker Night at the Inventory, which as a poker game also has running scripts of conversations that are going on while you're playing the poker game to make it bearable to spend the hours and hours it would take to win a poker tournament, and the vast amount of luck you're going to have. And occasionally I've started playing some Blackjack on my cell phone, but even at that, it's fairly boring, and I'm probably gonna uninstall that app in less than a month.
Green is my favorite color.
And I would never waste my time playing high-low or roulette or anything that's just super random, where there's very little skill involved. See, this table said it had 4 different multi-ball modes, didn't it, in the table description? Boy, does it not feel like it has 4 different multi-ball modes. Feels like there's 2 multi-ball modes I've seen, and I imagine there's a frenzy mode and at the very end, maybe some other multi-ball mode. I'm not sure if the ball needs to be held at the top there.
Extra ball.
An extra ball. Yeah, at this rate, though, I don't feel like I'm going to...
High low. Now we'll see what you're made of.
Let's see, lower
2 pair.
and poker. Wow, straight with the picture of some person. I don't know who that person was supposed to be. Looks kind of like Bernie Sanders, but I imagine it might have been Gorbachev that they were actually going for. Could have been the Stern's boss. Doesn't feel like we've gotten anywhere close to the break the bank multi-ball again. Like, all my beginner's luck is drained out. We've seen that happen several times where I get that one good game, and I assume that is just random beginner's luck, and it isn't the case that Pinball Arcade is actively cheating for you on the first game to make you feel like you're a better player, and then it turns off that cheating. I couldn't for a second actually believe that Pinball Arcade would be capable of being programmed well enough to actively cheat for you. And if it could, it probably should have just been doing that the whole time.
Bye, good looking.
So we didn't get any of those done. Let's check out the leaderboards. So, all time we have 75 billion. Yeah, it's quickly jumping down to less than 10 billion and less than 5 billion. Which, for a table that felt like it scored fairly high, those are actually fairly low numbers. That puts my score of 712 million, puts me in 4,628th position. Now, arguably, at this point, all the tables would have been after Pinball Arcade lost all of its licenses and probably lost most of its customer base. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's very few hardcore Pinball Arcade players still around. If anything, this is really more of a post-op of a game more than a live active platform that people should play on. If anything, I would be surprised if a significant portion of Pinball Arcade players did not even jump over to Pinball FX 2 and instead just quit playing pinball or started using visual pinball and ROMs and emulation directly. For this week that playing this on a Sunday just started, we have me in the 10th place out of how many people have playing this in the afternoon on Sunday, so it's been roughly 14 hours, maybe a little bit more, and 120 people played. That's actually a higher number than I would have thought. And then monthly, I'm in 95th position, playing this on the 25th day of the month, which makes me kind of wonder, do we really have like 300 or 400 people who played this in this month? It'd be nicer to see it was up to 400 or 500. But again, this is a newer table that people would have had to buy much closer to 2021 than 4 or 5 years ago, which would have been about the heyday of Pinball Arcade. Excuse me as I take a drink. Interesting. Somebody has glitched the title as far as their name to be really long. Yeah, we are much higher numbers than I thought. So there apparently have been 1,000 people. I guess we'll just make the assumption that at least 1,000 people seem to have played this table in this month. Which, that's higher than I would have thought it would have been. But yeah, I don't like it. Let's see. Big Shot is a pool table. Billiards. In this table you have it much more simplistic, just focusing on that one game. Jacks Open is a more simplistic poker focused game. And see, you can definitely tell the difference here, where the old tables were trying to just focus on one game and have one sales pitch instead of going for every single casino game. Wild Card is a different poker game focus table, and Wild Card actually has more going for it than Jacks Open. And then you get that this has been played up a lot. You get to like 8-Ball Deluxe, which is another billiards themed game with more shots on it, more shots than it probably should have. We haven't seen those drop down targets in a alleyway in a long time. And then you have, I don't think El Dorado. I kind of had forgotten this table existed. Like, with the difficult top lane of shots there, it's no surprise that playfield's crazy. And of course, I mentioned Taxi, but I won't bother to jump in there and show it. And then Cactus Jacks has nothing to do with poker, which really highlights a problem when arguably that if that did have a Jacks are better type poker game, that might make sense more. Let's see. And then when you hit the 90s era, you start to run into less gambling themed tables. You have Cue Ball Wizard, which is another billiards table where arguably this one with its gimmicks feels a lot more interesting as a poker table, but it kind of isn't that different from Big Shot. It's still a long line of standing targets on the left and right. And then you start getting into the themed ones and the extreme sports ones. And it's not really until you get to Jackpot that you have gambling, and Safecracker that you have a little gambling. And then you kind of forget about it again. Cactus Canyon could have had some gambling in it, but it didn't.
Let's play a game.
So let's try a game of Jackpot, just to remind ourselves how this would work. I'm not sure which button actually activates the extra ball, so that's something to focus on. So let's remind ourselves how much work does it take to get to your first gambling. So I think it actually does, like, we're getting cards and you collect the cards on Jackpot, but you have to hit that sinkhole. And there we've locked that. It is the right bump that you have to pound for the extra ball function. Which I guess that does give you something to do, but it's weird that that's not just the left flipper. But I guess it might, for some mechanical reasons, make sense to not have it be the left flipper. But then it doesn't really make sense that the button's below the flip plunger. If anything, it feels like you just flash the extra ball button and press it to keep people busy and not actually have it do anything half the time. It's basically an argument towards trying to turn a pinball into a video game by having you mash buttons, which even when this came out, a lot of button mashing was going on. If anything, button mashing has kind of been reduced these days in favor of QTEs or just showing straight cutscenes. And that is certainly an argument that pinball could have tried to make to criticize video games, is that they are just turning into these interactive movies and you're just hitting QTEs and you're not actually controlling the gameplay, and that would work for a selection of games, not every game. This is one of those games that I'm being reminded it would really take me, it's going to take me a lot of time to potentially get all the goals on.
Let's play roll the dice. 4. Double or nothing.
See, here's where the gambling comes in. You have to hit that ramp. So you have to be very good at hitting not only the sinkhole, and then see, there you have her say let it ride, double or nothing, the girl calling out. There's not even that much dialogue in Jackpot, but it's still better, in my opinion, than the table we were just playing. And then Safecracker,
donuts, the stuff dreams are made of.
As a break into the casino concept, makes
Candy.
a lot more
2000
sense.
security system online. 45 minutes until area shutdown.
Now, in this case, you're kind of cheating it because there's less focus on actual gambling and more on just pulling off a robbery in this game. But you could certainly have taken that same concept and merged it and had both concepts in one table.
35 minutes until area shutdown.
Yeah, I could see if this table had a slot machine, if this table had a roulette wheel, if this table had some more slingshots and blackjack and ramps and just like all the design that exists in that other table with this lines of dialogue and these themes, you would get probably a decent game between the two of them being merged together.
Lock is lit.
One of the things I was thinking about was, would it ever make sense, and it probably wouldn't, to potentially have two pinball tables that were played exactly the same, but were programmed as like an A mode and the B mode type game, so that like one table would get multi-ball shooting one ramp, where another table that looks exactly the same would get multi-ball shooting a completely different ramp. That I don't think that particularly works. I think it would make a lot more sense to have.
You have been terminated.
I didn't realize you could just lose on this table. I think it would make a lot more sense to mirror the play field and
Don't lose your boots.
And have it where, for instance, on this table, the slot machine would be on the right instead of the left. That visual difference before you even put a quarter in, before you even start a game, is much more appealing than trying to convince or explain to people that the two tables look exactly the same, but they've been programmed to be completely different. If you're going to program to be completely different, you might as well just put new art on it and reskin it. And sometimes reskinning it doesn't change, more often than not I imagine reskinning it doesn't actually change how the table plays.
This one's for Texas. I'm in the money.
So 3 1 bars gets you 6 chips. We'll give this one more game, and then I'll call
Let's
it.
play some poker.
I don't hate this table by any means, though. There's some angles that can be adjusted, certainly, and ball saves and kickbacks, certainly, but this just feels like another average table. Unfortunately, I think as Stern became the really the only large pinball table company to ever to exist, they did start putting out kind of annualized mediocre games instead of trying to put out annualized great games. I feel like competition, the lack of competition, there I got the 4-way combo on random accident. Yeah, that's about the worst Pinball Wizard goal I've seen so far because it's so random. And that brought me down to 149 achievements still to unlock, as we're nearly at the end here. And I don't know how you can create competition without creating a higher purchaser base, which is not likely to happen. The best thing I think pinball enthusiasts have been able to do is create self-aggrandizing contests and give away Pinball of the Year awards and review pinballs and talk about them and criticize them. That's about all they can do. I don't know if Stern is really afraid that any of those reviews or lack of winning of awards would affect their bottom line now. In a lot of ways, if you make 1,000 pinball units of any table, you probably will get 1,000 people to buy them. And I seriously doubt there's more than 20 of this table still sitting in some warehouse somewhere owned by Stern. More than likely what it seems like it happens is Stern makes these tables and then fairly quickly ships them out to distributors that then the tables either sit in the distributor's storage facility, thus not costing Stern anything. I bet there is no returns really to Stern as far as pinball tables because they're so expensive and heavy. It would be kind of crazy for a distributor to say, well, we need to return this high roller table because it's not selling. And there is definitely some shenanigans around storage costs in pinball tables if you were to run the numbers, because of the fact that it's either sitting in a distributor's warehouse, or it's sitting in a arcade, or it's sitting in a collector's house, and it's just costing the square footage of the mortgage to be in that location. All right, well, I really don't have anything more to say. We can see that there's now 7 remaining tables, 3 of which I don't even own, to look at, and then we will be done. And if this was 2001, which I think was the year for it, I'm not even going to bother to check. Next one could be easily 2002, which is surprising because Ripley's, believe it or not, feels like a much newer game. But what that really is just showing is that I played it on Pinball Arcade, and it was one of the first Pinball Arcade games to be emulated, which still makes sense because Pinball Arcade's heyday was probably 2002, between that and 2000 and I wouldn't even go as high as 2008 maybe. No, maybe it did go all the way to 2014 or 15. Yeah, but we don't have any tables that are likely from those years. Anyways, I'm just rambling. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.